Hello, I'm Dave and this is Logan, out once again for another walk in the countryside. Thanks for joining us. Now today we're at the pretty village of EVERSHOT in Dorset, and it's located about 13 miles northwest of Dorchester. Indeed, it's the second highest village in Dorset. The highest, of course, is Ashmore, and both Logan and I have done a walk there in the past. But today we're going to be walking a roughly 6.5 mile circular route. We'll start by having a quick look at the village and then head north through Melbury Park, past Melbury House and onto Melbury Osmond, and then we'll be heading west to Logan before returning to the village. I can promise you lots of interesting things along the way. Now I'm filming at the end of May. It is one of those beautiful, sunny, very late spring days. Hardly any cloud in the sky. Should be perfect conditions for walking. Do come along with us. Well, I've parked my car in the centre of EVERSHOT and made my way to the western edge of the village. And what better place to start than St John's Well, which is considered to be the official source of the River Frome, which of course is the second longest river in Dorset, the longest being the River Stour. And the Frome is about 30 miles long. It flows southeastwards to Wareham, where it meets the sea at Poole Harbour. Now the well here first was referred to in 1761 when church wardens imposed a penalty to anyone fouling its water. I think it might just have been a black iron pump originally, but it was restored in the year 2000. And this quite delightful church is St Osmond's Church, built on the site of an earlier 12th century chapel. Only the chancel arch and part of the tower remain from that earlier building. The current church was renovated in the 15th century and in 1656 again, before effectively being rebuilt in 1855 and again in 1864. And it consists of a nave, chancel, north and south aisles and a west tower. I think it's got 6 bells, and it's very much in a perpendicular Gothic style. The clock was gifted to the church in 1853. Well, we'll have a little peep inside. There's the font just on the right hand side as we come in, and then a stained glass window just behind it, and that looks like a stone or marble pulpit. And then just coming around to have a look at the organ on the left hand side there, and again more stained glass windows either side of the nave. And then just moving a little bit further into the chancel. Beautiful stained glass window just above the altar there, looking splendid in the morning sunshine. And some terrific sort of archway through with the organ, or the back of the organ behind it there. Really is a quite beautiful church. Well, let me tell you a little bit about this quite gorgeous village. Its name, EVERSHOT, possibly comes from the word Effer's Holt. Effer means wild boar and holt means wood. But in 1268 it was known as Thearshot. No idea how you pronounce that, which might refer to the colour of the soil around here. T4 is Old English for red ochre. However, it also might be derived from Varia, which is the alternative name for the River Frome, and Shot, which is Saxon for brook or clearing. Now, Sir Frederick Treves, in his 1906 book Highways and Byways in Dorset, described the village as, and I quote, a neat, wholesome, overgrown village which remains still modest and unassuming. And Thomas Hardy based his fictional village Evershed in Tess of the D'Urbervilles on the village of Evershot. And this beautiful little cottage next to the church is called Tess Cottage. And in Tess of the D'Urbervilles, Tess had breakfast in a cottage by the church, and Hardy based that cottage on this building here. Now this magnificent building, the old manor house, well, part date to the 17th century. And I was reading that pop star Toyah Willcox and her husband Robert Fripp lived here a few years ago. It really is such a pretty village. It's hard to believe, well, there was a big fire here in 1865 that destroyed something like 18 to 20 buildings. And this is the Acorn Inn, built as a coaching inn in the 16th century. And originally it was called the King's Arms, and it brewed its own ale using water from the nearby spring. The fictional pub, the Sow and Acorn in Tess of the D'Urbervilles, was based on the pub. Now on Mondays and Tuesdays it's only open in the evening, and as I'm filming on a Monday, it means unfortunately we're not going to be able to pop in there for research purposes today. Well, I tell you, I just love this view from the pub looking back up to the church along the main street through the village. You know, if it wasn't for the cars, you could be in a different century, couldn't you? And this is the Summer Lodge Country House Hotel, built in 1798 as a dower house by Henry Fox Strangways, the second Earl of Ilchester. It was enlarged in 1893. I believe Thomas Hardy, who was also an architect, actually designed the extension. Not 100% sure, but it became a hotel in 1979. Well, this is the sort of bottom end of the village, as it were, and the village hall, which was built in 1921 but commandeered by the army in the Second World War, and then at some stage it was given back to the village. Interesting just to see that sign there for the Frome Valley Trail. It's actually a 16-mile path from Evershot all the way to Dorchester that was established in 2005, and I was reading that they hope to extend it all the way to Wareham and Poole Harbour. Well, just as you come into the village, there's this sort of stone seat on a little triangle, and it's made from 3 standing stones with a sort of seat in the middle. Now, according to Peter Knight in his book Ancient Stones of Dorset, it's known as the 3 Dumb Sisters, and the story is of 3 dancing maidens that struck dumb and turned to stone for the simple reason of just making merry on a Sunday. Well, what an enchanting village Evershot is. Just to clarify the pronunciation of the river, is it River Frome, as in Broom, or River Frome? Well, I've spoken to 4 villagers, 3 said Frome and 1 said Frome, so I'm going to stick with Frome. Okie doke. Well, we're now going to start heading out into the countryside and initially follow a footpath that goes through Melbury Park. And there's a sign behind me that just asks us to keep dogs on leads. So this little road that we're on now, which is bordered either side by trees and looks quite idyllic, is going to take us to our next destination, Melbury Samford. We're actually on a couple of long distance paths. We're on the Hardy Way, which of course is that 220-mile path that winds its way through Dorset, linking places that have got a connection with Thomas Hardy. It starts at Higher Bockhampton, where he was born, and finishes at Stinsford Churchyard, where his heart is buried. And we're also on the Macmillan Way, which is a 290-mile long-distance path from Boston in Lincolnshire to Abbotsbury in Dorset. It's pretty much a coast-to-coast route, and it was created to increase the awareness of Macmillan cancer relief. Now, Melbury Park that we're walking through at the moment covers something like 300 acres, and originally it was a 16th century deer park. Gardens were created from the late 17th century to mid 18th century, and the whole area was landscaped by Capability Brown in the late 18th century, including the addition of some lakes. Well, a little pit stop to take in the view as we're going through Melbury Park. So the weather today is quite glorious, and just panning over to the left, looks like there's a lake down in the valley there. There's a lovely selection of trees. You've got the normal sort of deciduous, but a few conifers floating about as well. Well, lovely to see a few deer in the park, happily grazing in the spring sunshine on the side of that valley over there. They're quite I love sights like this. And there is the quite magnificent Melbury House. The Melbury estate was actually bought by a chap called Sir Henry Strangways in around about 1500, and it's been the family seat ever since. The house here was built in 1530, 1540 on the site of a previous house for Sir Giles Strangways. It was then remodelled in 1692. The current owner is the Honourable Charlotte Townsend, I think. I believe she's a descendant of the Strangway family, and well, the family owns quite a bit of land in the county, and it's managed by the Ilchester Estates. And just to the side of it is the Melbury Sanford Church. I think it's private, so we're not going to be able to have a look at it. And it's a church of St Mary, and it originates from the 15th century and was altered and extended in 1874. I'm guessing it would have been the parish church of the lost village around here, and it consists of a nave, chancel, north and south transept and a central tower. Now, I mentioned the lost village of Melbury Sanford, and the village was probably lost when the deer park was opened and the house built. I'm not 100% sure. The name Melbury comes from, well, multi-coloured fortification, and Sanford was the name of the lord of the manor in the 13th century. I think the family name was actually Saunford. Well, we're going to continue heading northwards to our next destination, Melbury Osmond. Incidentally, I've just said hello to a viewer of the channel, a chap called Paul. I think that's about the third video in a row that I've bumped into a viewer, which is great. And of course, as is now tradition, I've just given Paul a limited edition Dave's Countryside Walks badge. Well, we're just about to come into the little settlement of Melbury Osmond, and look at this cottage in front of me. It's called Monmouth Cottage, and it's got origins from 1640. And I believe that Thomas Hardy's maternal grandparents actually lived in the cottage. Hello, hello there. On a beautiful day to be out riding.
Beautiful day. Thank goodness for a bit of sun.
Oh, a beautiful horse. Oh my goodness me, look at this for a view. This is a Melbury Osmond splash, and I've seen some old photos on the internet. There's a gorgeous little stream here. I think it must join the River Yo, not 100% sure, but oh, you know, it's a typical sort of chocolate box scene, isn't it? I even love the wisteria on the side of that thatched house on the right. Oh, I think this is the highlight of the walk so far. And this is Melbury Osmond Church, which is also St Osmond's, like Evershot. Interesting that although the village is Melbury Osmond, the church is Osmond. But it's probably the third church on the site here. It's got a 15th century tower, but basically it was entirely rebuilt in 1745 and restored again in 1888. And it consists of a nave, a chancel and a west tower. I think it's got 5 bells. All right, in we go. And there's the font on the left-hand side, which I believe is Norman, or has Norman origins. And it's one of those, I describe it as a very light and airy building. Looks like a wooden pulpit on the right there. And then on the left, there's the organ. And then through to the chancel. Now there are 3 beautiful stained glass windows here. The main one in front of me, just above the altar. And then there are a couple either side. And of course, the daylight today with the sun gleaming through, you really do see them at their best. And I love the ceiling here, which I don't think I've ever seen sort of wooden panels quite like that before, quite colourful. And I know a few viewers always like to see the various kneelers in the church, and there's a quite splendid array of different designs here. And next to the church, the old rectory, and parts of this date to the 16th century, and there were additions in the 17th and 18th centuries. Well, I tell you folks, I've been to a lot of pretty villages in my series of walks in Dorset, but Melbury Osmond has got to be one of the best. Forgive me if I read an extract from Sir Frederick Treves' book. He describes it so well. I've got to wear my glasses for this. The village clings to a narrow waving lane on a steep slope, at the top of which is the church and at the bottom a stream. The little lane is deeply wooded all the way, so that its road is always freckled with shade. On either side are ancient thatched cottages, some with thatched porches and others with relics of past pretensions in the matter of stonework. All are covered with creepers. There are many gardens along the lane side, surrounded by ivy-clad walls or by hedges of laurel. Near the stream, at the base of the hill, is the most comely cottage of all, together with a single arch footbridge protected by a white rail. The view down the village lane is very pleasant. A winding line of trees with glimpses of roofs of russet thatch, of patches of bright flowers in old-fashioned gardens, and of moss-covered orchard walls. In the gap between the treetops is a view of the near hills and of the white clouds. I say his prose is absolutely superb. He describes it brilliantly. Well, what a quite exquisite and gorgeous little village. I really fell in love with it. Right, now we're going to start heading westwards on the next leg of our journey. No bridge across river on path ahead. Looks like we're going to get our feet wet, Logan. A little pit stop to take in the view as we're continuing to head westwards along this track, and we're heading for those woods. I think it's called Monk's Wood, and just panning over. This must be over to the north, and all I can see is green fields, green trees, everything so fresh and vibrant. We're just about to cross over a stream, and there is a sort of bridge that goes over it. It seems to be open. Oh, gorgeous smell of garlic here. Wow. Now let's have a look. Yeah, there's a stream to the right. Well, maybe there might be another bridge, but this one was fine. Aha, I think this is the bridge that they're talking about being closed, and yeah, look, it's virtually rotted away, but fortunately looks like we're going to be able to get around it okay. And in fact, it might even be an opportunity for Logan to have some fresh water. It's actually becoming quite a warm day now. Not quite dog dip material though, is it? You got your paws wet and that's about it. Well, we've now made it to a little place called Logan, which is about as far west as we're going on the walk. From now on, we start heading southwards, basically heading back to EVERSHOT. We've just come through a shady bit of woodland. We got our feet a little bit muddy. Let's just say it's probably not a walk you'd want to do in the winter months. So this little section of the route that we're on now, I think we're back on a part of the Macmillan Way, and it's just taking us through Logan. It's very small. It was possibly one of those lost or deserted villages, because all that's left now is basically the manor house and there's a church. Now, I was going to do a little detour to check out a little church, St James Church at Logan, which, well, parts of it go back to the 12th century, but it means going down that little track there and a little bit more of a journey. It's actually getting quite warm now, and I need to look after Logan. And you can probably just see through the trees there the top of the Logan Manor House, which, well, that goes back to the late 18th century with 19th century extensions. But going back to the village, there's no evidence these days of a medieval village in terms of earthworks, so those may have been destroyed when the house was built. Now, we need to look out for a footpath sign, and you could easily miss it. It's almost hidden under those trees there. So that's going to take us southwards. Well, this really is your quintessential English spring meadow. Absolutely brimful of buttercups. Isn't it delightful? I'll tell you, this section of the walk is quite divine. It really is. There's a tiny little breeze, which is just what I wanted. And it's downhill. And I say this meadow, oh, if only all walks could be like this. Well, it looks like we've got to cross a little stream again. And good opportunity for Logan to cool down. Now we've got a little ford to cross, and oh goodness gracious me, what looks like an assault course to get up onto the other side. This is going to annoy my knees immensely. Well, a little update on the route. We're just passing through Gurt Farm, so not long to go until we get back to EVERSHOT. I'll tell you, the section that we've just come along, it was just one meadow after another meadow after another meadow. It really was quite idyllic. Oh, folks, just check out some of these views over to the west on this last little section. It's just, I keep on saying, a typical rolling Dorset landscape, but it really is. Now this is an important part of the route. So we've been coming south down Gurt Lane, and we're now just going to pick up this footpath here on the left, and that just should take us through a field or two over to the east and back to the village. Well, if there's one abiding memory that I'll take from this walk, apart from that beautiful little village at Melbury Osmond, is, well, I'd always think of this walk as fields and fields of buttercups. Well, folks, we've come to the end of our walk. We're back at St John's Well, which of course was our starting point. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do give us a thumbs up and a like, and do leave a comment, and do check out our Facebook page, Dave's Countryside Walks. Well, the weather today has been amazing. We've had a great walk. So until we meet again, thanks for watching and cheerio. Well, no pub today. Shall we see if we can find an ice cream somewhere?